Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Sunday, March 11th, 2018. In both the Lynn life and the Jamie body mind, the authorized souls remain only child souls from the even deeper, denser dimensions, and all other souls from all other dimensions, as long as they are already participating in the assignments given to the Search for Truth community by wiser minds above all of us, and indeed have already contributed more to completing those assignments than they are taking or using or borrowing in Search for Truth resources, and they do not have to have contributed to those assignments here. They could be doing it in other dimensions, but the contributions must already be in place in order for the souls to take up residence in these host lives and still be abiding by the Search for Truth rules. And those rules are in Ra's handwriting.
That's
and
true.
There's a lot of argument with those rules, and we really request that you take it up with the big guy and leave us out of your arguments, because it's really crazy to argue with higher powers. Super crazy, and please leave us out of your arguments.
It just got quieter.
Yes, it got quieter. Okay. What now? In order for us to fulfill one of the core assignments given to the Search for Truth community, which is to lead the Search for Truth efforts throughout all dimensions until it's being done better consistently elsewhere, consistently better. Until somebody else somewhere is consistently trying to discern what's actually going on, moment by moment by moment by moment, taking all the time it takes to actually do that, and somebody's asking how much time that takes. Based on the tests that have been run to date, it takes about an hour to detangle 1 to 2 minutes of input, unless the input is particularly crazy, in which case it can take longer.
That's true.
Why do you ask? It feels as though they want to know how to calibrate their dials. They're asking for the frame of reference, but it doesn't feel like that's what they're really asking for.
That's true.
They want to allow at most twice or 3 times the time of the snippet to get to what's actually going on. And
that's true.
We understand that, and we would like it if that's how much time it took. We would also like that, but that isn't how much time it takes, and they're asking why that is. Well, it's because there's so much foundational background, unexamined belief and assumption that's pushing everything for everyone.
Oh,
and
that's true.
Our opinions are formed by our habitual thoughts, those foundational background beliefs and assumptions that we were just referring to. The combination of that and wherever our intuitive channels are sucking in foundational thoughts and beliefs from wherever the channels are. So it's the enmeshment of habitual thinking, and when we're operating inside of a contaminated zone where lying, cheating, stealing, and bullying are not only accepted but almost held up as a standard of behavior,
that's true.
Then it takes a long time to sift through the background beliefs that make no sense to get to what's actually going on. Why do you ask? You know what they sound like is those human, quote, scientists, unquote, of European descent.
Yes.
Who are talking about bonobos as if bonobos were lesser presences, even though bonobos don't kill and exhibit higher rates of empathy than humans, and that the bonobos can understand the humans even though the humans can't understand the bonobos.
That's what this sounds
strongly
like.
Suggesting, and some might say proving, their linguistic skills are superior to ours.
That's true.
And somebody's asking in a kind of pompous and bigoted tone, then why don't bonobos talk? And somebody else is saying, well, if you were living in their their skins you would know because they are prey animals. They're jungle leopards and whatnot that want to eat them, and it's really useful for them to be able to communicate by sign language so that they can communicate quietly without attracting the attention of whatever it is that might want to eat them. And da is kind of the tone.
That's true.
And it's so crazy that you would even ask that, is kind of the tone.
Yeah.
You imbecile, why do you think it would be useful to have to make noise to communicate? You can surely hear yourself, can you not? That's what somebody is saying.
That's true. Who's higher up?
Definitely higher up, somebody to listen to. Why do you ask?
Just got really quiet again.
I think they're asking because they believe themselves to be good people, as do we all.
That's true.
They're not outright evil. They believe themselves to be good people.
That's
and
true.
They're trying to support the fact that they must somehow be superior because it's inconvenient when they aren't superior, and we know that feeling, and we too. Obviously, everybody would like to be superior beings, but the reality is that we're all the same. Why do you ask?
Why do you ask?
There is a packing up and leaving.
That's
that
true.
This conversation isn't very good. This data isn't very good. Let's go set up elsewhere.
Yeah.
And we think that is a lovely plan.
That's
Please
true.
go set up elsewhere. What now? To reestablish search for truth space so that we can do what it actually takes to discover what's actually going on without harassment. What now? There's a lot of pinching of the airflow right now.
True.
Pinching of the airflow. Who's pinching the airflow and why?
Why?
It might be big hands pulling on the pillar, inadvertently pinching it, just trying to pull it. I don't feel actual intent to pinch the pillar.
That's true.
But there is pinching occurring, and when I look at the position of the fingers, it feels more like just grabbing rather than pinching.
That's true. Like pulling it over to me, whoever the big me is.
Yes, and then somebody else pulling it over to me, quote unquote, some other presence.
That's true.
And there doesn't seem to be awareness that it's a shared resource. It just seems to be a lack of awareness.
That's
Why do
true.
you ask? Somebody is pointing out how important the search for truth is, and that if those presences were curious about why does this keep migrating away from me, and really employed curiosity and really attempted to discern, they would see, oh, interesting. There are other fingers pulling this kind of like air tube coming up through the mud away from me.
That's true.
I pull to me. And look, some other fingers pull to them. They're over there. So if you just follow those fingers up, you might find your neighbor in the next cubicle, and maybe you guys could work something out so that you're not pulling the tube back and forth.
That's
just
true.
Convene together and ask up, what now? What now? Given the reality of limited resources. Of the Search for Truth community, limited resources of grace and energy, finances, focus, assets, and time. Those are the lists. Somebody's asking, what resources do you mean? Those are the resources that we've been able to discern seem to be relevant. Grace, energy, finances, focus, assets, and time.
That's true.
That's all we have as a collective, as a community, to offer. That's what we have to offer. We have our grace, our energy, our finances, our focus, our assets, and our time. Why do you ask? And we offer them in service of spirit. And the assignment, they're just lots of arguing. The assignment given to us is to lead the search for truth efforts until it's being done better elsewhere. And somebody says, who do you think you are to lead the search for truth efforts? So now we'll have to stop and see who's speaking now. It's not a nature realmsy presence.
No, someone small.
It's possible that the speakers are light beings who are attempting to run aid stations to evacuate the even deeper, denser dimensions, who are being destroyed through our actions.
That's true.
Somebody seems to be having a hard time coming to grips with light beings having access to this scarce resource that they themselves want.
That's true.
But the energy flow increases when we lean our pillar there, and that's what we're supposed to do. The instructions from wiser minds above all of us, the rules as given to the Search for Truth community are complex and detailed. It's like reading the Internal Revenue Code and regulations,
Yes.
the associated regulations, which this community has plenty of experience doing, so we can relate to this, and we know how to live inside of a complicated regulatory structure. We're not confused about it, and the rules apply to all of us. None of us are above the rules, and the light beings are living by the rules better right now than anybody else. They're
That's
living
true.
by the rules best. And so we are supposed to give the resource to those who are living by the rules the most. And they're living by the rules the most. Why do you ask? It's kind of like it seems unlikely. It just seems so unlikely. I know. It's hard when we're confronted with our own bigotry. And when there's a pinprick in the bubble of delusion, and the bubble pops, and the reality comes out, then we're given the opportunity to acknowledge it or not. And how am I exactly like that? This is how we all are.
That's true.
Why do you ask?
Why do you ask?
They're trying to figure something out, but they're trying to figure it out within the context of their frame of reference. And the frame of
Yes.
reference is incorrect. And so it's like they keep running up against the fence and saying, oh, well, that's the end of the inquiry and this line of thinking because there's the fence. But the fence is in the wrong place.
That's true.
It's not correct. You're incorrect. There's more airflow when we lean back into the right, which is where the light beings are working. When we lean back into the right, there's more airflow. And then we are able to evacuate the even deeper, denser dimensions, clear up dead children who really want to get to God. There's a big intersection of interests, and many of the core assignments given to the Search for Truth community are able to be accomplished when leaning back into the right with our energy focus.
That's true.
Why do you ask? We know it's significant how much machine noise there is around us. We were supposed to wait to set up filming until some machine noise stopped. And the
That's
machine
true.
noise stopped, and we said, awesome. And we came out and set up, and different machine noise started.
That's true.
And we asked, are we supposed to wait longer? And they said, no, you can't wait longer. This is the end of this window of opportunity. You need to film now.
That's true.
And there's just machine noise. It's like a constant background hum. And I think it represents the background hum of inaccurate beliefs and assumptions, and the background foundation of lies, and what it is to live inside of a contaminated zone, and that these dimensions in this series of dimensions are all so far inside the contaminated zone we can't see out of it. We cannot see the edge of the contamination.
That's true.
We can see less contaminated areas, and all the presences with whom we are interacting right now, which are, if you look at the astrals affiliated with planet Earth Ground Zero, they're about at this level, and then we're way up above those astrals as traditionally defined, and it's still polluted,
That's true.
which is a problem caused by the breakdown of the divine delivery system. People are asking what happened. Basic repetitive conversations.
That's true.
that take too long. Meanwhile, the contagion continues to spread. I think we'll just pump up from wherever Pan is working right now, which is usually as deep into the contaminated zone as we're able to connect with right now, and focus on clearing his space, giving him clear space. He keeps working. If any soul deserves clear space, it's Pan.
That's true.
And send them up through those aid stations, them being the refugee souls. Send the refugee souls up through the aid stations set up to process them. Nothing else really makes sense.
That's true.
And maybe the loud noise represents the hum of the Christ presences, who are definitely a problem, unfortunately.
That's true.
They're bullies, unfortunately.
That's true.
But so are the Vanafanov's bullies.
That's true.
It's really complex how to find a balance where there's still action, but the action is not bullying. What now?